Hello. So I am just waiting for more people to join in. Um because you'll probably be getting notification. Hello, hello. Hi Reggie, hi Maliv. Hi guys. Hey. Thanks for joining. Okay, so I'm just waiting for a few more of you guys to join in. Can you all hear me loud and clear? Can you join me? Can you all hear me loud and clear? Let me know. Okay, so basically, first of all, it has been a while since I did LesTalk. You all can see a while since, like, from my hair, right? The length of my hair from the last LesTalk to today. Just a little bit background. I'm sorry for not doing LesTalk for a while. I just switched jobs. I got a new job. LesBeHeard has gone through a huge revamp. There's so many things that we are so excited to share with you. And now we are back fresh. More content, amazing guests lined up for our next talk show series. Okay, this time around, unfortunately, I have wine in the fridge, but I'm not drinking today. But let me introduce to you. Today I'm drinking tea. It's a fresh lemon Earl Grey tea. I'm very, very inspired by our next guest, because our next guest is actually Holly, and she's a manifestation coach. If you guys actually look at her IG, she's so, like, her posts are just also so clean and so nice, and it's all about eating clean and being clean. That's why I've got a clean drink to accompany me for this LesTalk show today. So I'm very happy to introduce all of you to Holly, and I've got Holly here. Holly on the live IG with us. So let's just give it a moment.
Hi.
Hi, Holly. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me. Is the lighting okay? I know it's a bit dark in my home.
No, it's great.
Okay, cool.
Yes. Just a little background. So I and Holly, we connected through another campaign that a brand was working, which was Rye, when they were actually doing a whole photo shoot for the queer community. And Holly was actually when I was looking through the run sheet, I saw Holly's name there, and Holly actually I think we all actually connected by following each other on IG, and we're like, you know what, we got to do this because she has got her page, and we're like, hey, we should just have a chat. Holly, do you want to share with us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, sure. So, hey guys, I'm Holly. I'm based here in Singapore, and so I teach manifestation through wellness, which is a bit of a vague concept, but basically it's all about, feeling good, and the better you feel, the better people, the better opportunities, the better situations you attract and you come into contact with. I identify as queer. Um, and yeah, I'm very excited to be here.
I'm so excited to have you here because, first of all, I always have this question, right? I know we have been hearing this word manifestation, manifesting so much right now, but what does this actually really, really mean?
Well, I guess it means like, different things to different people. For me, it basically means like taking action that inspires you. So let's say you have a dream, right? Instead of sitting at home, like just wishing and thinking about the dream, like actually recognizing your dream, and then taking action that feels good. So taking action that isn't like, oh, I'm forcing myself, but it's like, oh, this feels really, really good. And then kind of, like really trusting that the universe, God, whatever you call it, is like, will align things. So you meet the right people, you meet the right, just, situations along the way that makes your path smooth and easy. Yeah.
No, that's very nice. Okay, so when I first met you, you actually had a page, an IG page fully dedicated to queer relationship advices, and as well as a service that you actually provided. Unfortunately, the page went down.
Yeah.
Um, But the content that I actually saw there, I'm like, oh my God, so many people, there's so many of our followers and our viewers actually reached out to us and told us, hey, Rachel, why don't we talk about exes, relationships, how to meet someone new, how do they move on? And I'm like, hey, Holly, you're going to be a great person to actually chat about this. We had a few questions that came in. I think you guys saw our the IG story as well. So maybe I would go to the heartbreak first because most of the questions were about heartbreaks. How do you actually heal from a heartbreak?
That's a tough one. I feel like, everyone has really different journeys in terms of healing. So I think the first and foremost thing is like not to rush the healing or not to feel like you need to heal quicker than you're supposed to. Um, I know a big thing is like feeling like, I felt heartbreak long enough. I need to, push through and just go date someone just for the sake of it, just to, I guess, get over it. And I don't really recommend that because I feel like in a way that's like bypassing your own feelings. So I think it's very important to really like, trust your own process, but at the same time to, do things that are leading you in the right direction of meeting someone new or getting to know yourself better instead of just sitting at home and, like, yeah, you're supposed to feel the feelings, but at the same time, like, what are you doing to expand yourself and get to know the world and, hopefully get to know yourself better and get to meet this like really amazing human who's right for you.
Because I think we hear a lot about, finding ourselves, ensuring that we know who we are, loving ourselves. What are some tips? I think all of us have gone through that phase where we had to learn how to love ourselves. Sometimes we had people to come in and help us um, actually experience and notice that some of us, we have to go through self-actualization to actually achieve that. What are some tips that you have to everyone to actually find themselves?
Mm. So I think a big part is actually like tuning out from all the noise in the world. Like for me personally, I really had to step away from social media for a bit because I found that so much of what I thought I needed in a relationship and in a partner was shaped by social media. So I had this like really long list of what my partner should look like or be like. And, time and time again, I kept meeting people who were like, that list, but it was like, it wasn't my list. It was something that I found through other people. So I really need to take a step away and get to know myself and get to know like what my heart really needs, not just, material, but what like do I need to feel loved and yeah, just get to know me. So I really encourage people to take a break from, what you see. There's so much going on. So just like turn all that down and just be like, okay, who am I? What do I need? What really makes me happy?
Of course. I think we're talking about lists, right? It's such a, I mean, I have a list.
Yeah.
But I've got a very unique list, right? My list is differentiated into two parts. One part where I really want it from my partner, and the other part is how I can achieve it with my friends. So in case my partner is not an adventurous person and I'm an adventurous person, I don't put that under the list of things that I want from my partner, whereas I feel that I can achieve it from my friends or my circle of friends outside of my partner as well. So I try not to set the standards up so high. I don't know if that works, but I'm married and I'm happy
Yeah.
with that. So I kind of ensure that my wife don't have the stress of having to fill all those boxes. Speaking of that, I want to jump into this question that was posted. Before I explain the question itself, to all the viewers, if you guys have any questions for me, especially for Holly, I want you guys to also send drop us a message. Do you guys also have a list? Maybe y'all can share with us. But moving on, one of the questions was, a lot of us actually have high standards and we tell ourselves not to settle.
Mm.
What is your take on that?
Yeah, I think that's important because I feel like, when you have a certain standard, like in your heart, that's what you need. But also, I think it depends what kind of standards, right? Like, it could be like, on one hand, like, yeah, you want someone who's reliable, someone who's kind, someone who is, like financially responsible. But I think that's very different from just like, wanting someone who I think everyone's different. So there's nothing wrong if, let's say, someone's like, hey, I want to date someone really rich, and they're really open about it. Like, sure, fine, like no judgment. But at the same time, I think there's a difference between, being like, oh, like someone who's financially responsible. So maybe they aren't at that level yet, but it's okay.
Mm-hmm.
Like, as a couple, as a relationship, you're able to work through things together. So I think in a way also kind of, yeah, being open-minded and flexible. Because, I met my partner, I always was like, oh, I want someone who's like in a corporate job and very responsible. And then I met my partner, and my partner's like, la 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 la, just having a good time, like, like not very like goal driven. And it really triggered me because I felt like, oh no, but on my list, it was someone who is, like super driven, and my partner wasn't. But I didn't realize that actually that's what I needed. Someone, who's just like chill and fun loving, because I'm very goal driven. So, maybe it's like a good balance. So yeah, I really encourage people to, have high standards, but also be flexible. Like if you meet someone really, really awesome and there's something that isn't like, on your list, like, just try it out and see how it goes.
I think it's pretty important. Okay, so from my end, I have got this very I wouldn't say it's a high standard, but I think it's a bit more of learning from experiences. Where I actually am a self-starter since a very young age. So I ensure that the partner that I am with, number one, actually have a job, because I've had past experiences where I've dated people who didn't have a job, and the responsibility fell on me
Yeah.
itself, and I was not ready for that responsibility yet. So I think it's very much in the thought process as well. Do you just fall in love and just jump straight into it, or do you actually have to think logically before jumping into a relationship?
I think a bit of both, I feel like there's like like the heart element, but at the same time, like realistically, is this relationship like gonna work? Is it what I need? Because yeah, same as you, I know some people can do it, but for me, I just am not, I don't feel like I'm attracted to someone who has zero goals. Like, I want someone who, yeah, like has a job, has some sort of responsibility. It might not be like, like, oh my gosh, I'm this like super crazy, hardworking person, but that's okay as long as someone has something they love.
Of course. And I think that the next follow-up question that I would actually ask is, there are a few people who actually feel that way, where they don't know if they should settle, whether they should set their standards higher. And then we've got another pool of people who actually don't know how to meet someone new. They're not socially outgoing, they don't know how to approach a woman, especially us being queer women, right? It's impossible, almost impossible for us to know whether the person that we're attracted to plays on our same team or not. How do you actually meet someone new? Or what's your advice that you would give if someone wants to meet someone new?
Mm. So I guess right now it's COVID, so it's a bit challenging. I mean, personally, I'm a really big fan of such a great way to get to know people and meet people. It doesn't take that much time, so you can really meet a lot of people in a short time span. I do online dating, but I was really, really blessed that one of my friends actually introduced me to my partner. But I think it gave me good practice of getting to know different people, and also um, like kind of going into it, not expecting every date to be like the love of your life or your relationship. Yeah.
And how does manifestation actually play a role in meeting someone new? What do an individual have to do in order to achieve that?
Mm. So basically, in manifestation, what you learn is that everything in your outer world, every person, every place, all the experience you contact on a daily basis with, they're all being attracted to you based on the person you are. So in manifestation, it's all about, if you want a different reality, it's about not like complaining or blaming outside situations, but it's like changing yourself. And the more you change yourself into the outcome you want, the kind of people, you start to draw into your world that are right for you, as the person you're becoming.
Understand. I think that's great advice. But on top of that, I think the next thing would be now that you have gotten to that level, what about the fear of getting rejected?
Mm.
How am I going to be okay with that?
Mm. Okay, so actually really interesting because I just was talking to someone this morning and we were talking about, being really grounded in the fact that you're not for everyone. You're not everyone's person, and that's okay. I think we live in a world, of Instagram where there's so much like everyone's obsessed with like how many likes do I have? How many comments do I have? Instead of being like, like yeah, I'm not for everyone. Someone will like me and someone won't, and that's okay. And I think the same way on the other hand, like also not being afraid to reject someone, like not being afraid of rejection and not being able to reject someone. So really like trusting that it feels right. And yeah, it just feels like something you actually want to enter into. Because I've been in experiences where I've gone into relationships where I didn't really want to, but I was so afraid of rejection and rejecting someone that I just like went into it.
Of course. Okay, so I think that's a question that came in from Chris here. How do you trust that there is something or someone better and not to settle? I think this question would be more for people who have been in toxic relationships, or they're still in toxic relationships. How can they actually make themselves believe that there is something or someone better?
Mm. Well, when I was younger, I remember being in a relationship that was really, really, really toxic, but at the same time, it's all I knew, and it felt like it was the love of my life at that point. And I really, really couldn't picture life any better, or, someone who I would get along better with, but that was all I knew. That's why. So, I think it took an element of like faith and just like going for it, being like, you know what, if this isn't making me happy, and what if I know it's a bit like dark, but what if I die tomorrow, right? What if I get hit over by a bus tomorrow? Like there must be a better way of living. And then I kind of told myself, I was like, you know what? I feel like I'm like I love my life in general. So with or what without this person, I'd be happy. Um, and then just like taking the leap and then making the choice to move on. And then from my experience I realized that every person who came in started to become better and better, but if I didn't have stepped out of that, I wouldn't know. So I think in a way it's like stepping into the unknown. Like it's kind of like being at a job you hate, right? If you stay there forever you're just gonna hate it, but if you move on, like maybe the next one won't be perfect, but maybe there is something else that really lights you up.
Definitely, it's more like if you never try, you never know. And if your heart tells you that it's wrong, it's actually wrong. So you just have to step out to your comfort zone and try to do something that's gonna satisfy yourself, your heart, right?
Yeah.
And your soul. I think
Yeah.
that's so, so important.
Yeah, because when I was younger, like I used to be with people, and then I would like try to picture myself marrying them, and then I get really sick. I feel really sick, and then I was like, oh my gosh, if I'm feeling that way about these people I'm dating, like I don't want to get married. I don't want to be with this person, and then I break up with them.
Yes, exactly. Like learn your lesson. I think that's what dating is all about.
Yeah.
And okay, so another question that came in was moving on from heartbreak. I think that's something that a lot of people struggle with. And it's not just struggle, it's just that we all have our different ways of actually getting over it and moving on. Some people easier than the others, but how do you manifest that?
Mm. I think, firstly, it's about feeling your feelings, knowing that, yes, that was really, really difficult. Um, but at the same time, not isolating. I mean, I think it's also important to have your space to actually heal so that way the next person you're going into, like, it's not like a rebound, or it's not like I'm just going into this just to, yeah, fill the void, but rather I'm really going into this because I'm really interested in this person. Hey, I think you're so cool. I would love to get to know you better. Um, so yeah, I think it's really about, acknowledging your feelings, being like, hey, this really, really hurts right now. It might hurt for a while, but at the same time, I'm going to um, focus on myself, and then also just be open to opportunities and people that come my way, and not be like, oh my gosh, all people suck. I'm never going on a date ever again.
Yes, of course. Okay, now that we have touched on exes, we have touched on finding someone. I think this is something that I mean I didn't bring this up to you yet, but what about cheating, right? And I want to see cheating on a two-way view, one of the person who has been cheated on and the other one a cheater. So maybe we'll just touch on the person who has been cheated on, right? And let's take that how do they actually get over that? How do they forget? Because we all have this thing that we can forgive, but we can't forget.
Mm.
Um, how would you tackle that?
So does this person want to stay with the person still, or have they broken up?
I think let's view it in two different ways.
Hmm.
One is have broken up, but right now suffers from the trauma of it, and
Mm.
the other party is when they want to actually give it a try again. They're still together, they still want to give it a try.
Okay. So I, if let's say they broke, like, super important to know that it's not your fault at all. Like, nothing to do with you. It's really the other person and their insecurities. Their And I always see it as like a sign. Like, imagine if, you didn't find out, then you end up with this person for many years, and it's all going on behind your back, right? I really think it's like an indicator to like guide you in the right direction and be like, hey, like, this is being revealed to you because it's not right and there's something better. So I always see it as like a gift that it was revealed. And then on the flip side, if someone chooses to stay in a relationship, I think it's really about being like, hey, is it because I really, really love this person, or is it because I'm too afraid to move on? And if I stay, am I really able to love this person regardless of what they've done and not feel resentful, not feel jealous? Because, if you're going to stay in a relationship and you're having all those negative feelings, then you end up like projecting on that person, blaming, getting angry really easily. And it's like not good for your health or their health either. Like, it's just like toxic because there's so much anger. But I think if, the person really is able to truly like let go and move on and forgive, and they really are able to talk about it and reconciliate, then yeah, could be something there.
Is there a few maybe steps on how a person can actually process to take that those process to actually go on to finally forgiving?
Mm. So you mean if they are if they're still staying with that person?
Yeah,
Mm. Yeah, so I think, back to what I mentioned earlier, a lot of first like acknowledging that it's not their fault, nothing wrong with them, like it's not nothing to do with them like being attractive or not. I know some people be like, oh, if only I'm more attractive, but you've seen like Elizabeth Taylor, like such beautiful like Hollywood people get cheated on. So I really realize it's nothing to do with you, it's the other person that, to know that they had a void or they had some sort of insecurity going on, and yeah, they just weren't able to deal with it in a more mature way.
mm,
Um,
mm.
yeah, and then I think in that case, when someone is dealing with a partner who cheats, like, it's so important that the other partner is on the same page and they are able to come to you with a heartfelt apology in a way that really means something to you. Because I think it's a two-way street. Like, it won't really work if one person is, doing the self-forgiveness, forgiving the other person, but the other person isn't like apologetic and also working with you to heal.
Definitely. And what about the cheater's perspective?
Hmm. As in what they need to, what they would need to do to.
Definitely.
Mm.
Okay, so I think in the cheater's perspective, right, there are two kinds of people. There is one kind who know that they made a mistake. They may or may not try to say sorry or try to reconcile, but there's another type of people who cheat, but they don't feel sorry.
Right, right. Okay. Yeah, so that's interesting. I feel like, the ones who cheat or have cheated, and there is that element of guilt, and they either make amends or come clean or yeah, like truly never do it again. I think there's hope in that department, and it just shows that they want to change. And I do believe people change. I do believe people um, can choose differently. But on the flip side, I feel like, let's say someone really doesn't feel guilty, doesn't feel bad. I feel like that is challenging because, I mean, personally, I would say, okay, maybe you're just not meant for a monogamous relationship. Maybe you're meant for like a, I don't know what it's called, polyamorous relationship. And
Polyamorous. Yeah.
yeah, maybe be in an open relationship, right? If you feel like you need more than one partner to fill your needs. Um, yeah, instead of trying to be in a monogamous relationship, maybe do something, that is, I guess, not so mainstream.
Yes, of course. Okay. And I also think that when now that we're talking about all this, we've covered the elements of trying to meet someone new, being cheated on, being a cheater, as well as getting over your exes. What I'm hearing a lot from you, Holly, is that it has a lot to do with yourself.
Mm,
It's always about you. It's about you healing because you healing will heal the process.
hmm. Yeah.
So what are your views? What are your tips for self-love? Right? Like
Mm.
what RuPaul say, if you can't love yourself, how do you expect somebody else to? What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think that is super, super important, self-love, self-compassion. When I was younger, like in my 20s, I had a friend who was a lot older, like in her 50s, and at that point, I was always judging myself, everything I did was wrong, always had all these like ridiculously high standards I couldn't meet. And my friend told me, she's like, Holly, I think you need to, practice like looking yourself in the mirror every day and telling yourself that you love yourself. And I thought that was the weirdest thing ever, and I couldn't do it. And whenever I look at myself in the mirror, I was like, this is just so weird. And as I practiced, I started to actually be softer with myself, where maybe at work things wouldn't go so well, but I'd be like, oh, that's okay. And I feel like saying really nice, sweet things to yourself, like it sounds really cheesy, but I've done it and it's been so powerful where, when you mess up, instead of being like, ah, you're such an idiot, being like, oh, it's okay, like things like that happen. Like you're doing a good job. Yeah. Um, and just like, yeah, I think giving yourself more credit for everything you do instead of negative comments. Like, you know, for every negative comment, you need to give yourself like 100 good comments.
Yes, I think most of us actually struggle with that. Personally, I found myself struggling with that a lot as well. And I wouldn't lie that self-acceptance comes once and it never comes again because there will be days that you're super comfortable with yourself, that you're fully accepted yourself, but there will also be days where we actually question ourselves, right? We question the decisions that we are trying to make. We question the action that we actually just did subconsciously. Like we don't even know what we're doing or what we're saying. We question our anger, we question our feelings. Um, and it's a very important thing that I would like everybody else to also know that that it is okay, right? But the thing about us is that we tend to, like what Holly just mentioned, we are strong enough to get through that. If we have done it once, I always tell myself, if I've done it once, I can do it again, right? And that's how I teach myself self-love, that I remind myself I was strong enough to get through this certain phase. And here I am again having all these things in my mind. I'm just gonna remind myself that hey, I did it again. I am going to get through this once more. And that keeps me going like a ball. It rolls over and over. Chris have a question. She's asking, what is the first thing you say to yourself every morning, if you have one?
Okay, so for a long time, it was I go look in the mirror, then I tell myself, okay, I love and accept you exactly as you are. Like, and my friend told me to say that like 20 times every morning. So I would say that in front of the mirror 20 times every day. But right now it's a bit different. Right now I think it's more of just like, like, okay, like, today's going to be an okay day. Like, I don't really set the bar too high. I'm just going to show up, do the best I can, and not have any expectation. So right now it's more of like giving myself permission to not be perfect and be like, hey, whatever's going to get done will get done, and then I can continue tomorrow.
Definitely. The first thing I say in the morning, I'm like, I'm in bed, I just woke up, and literally the first thing I tell myself is 5 more minutes, 5 more minutes, 5 more minutes of sleep, and then I really get up, and I'm like, okay, today I have got the energy to finish up what I'm doing. I think another question is, how do you think a couple living together can minimize conflict and squabbles?
Yeah, so I guess me and you both live with our partners. I think it's about compromise and about like I guess about love. A lot of times, like we do annoy each other because my partner is very, very, very like OCD type clean, and I'm very average clean. And yeah, we a lot of our fights are about cleanliness, and sometimes I get so irritated that she's complaining about like the tiny speck of seaweed on the floor, but I need to remember that like I love her so much, and I would rather be irritated with her than with anyone else. And yeah, if like for some reason something happened, she didn't come home, God forbid, I'd be so irritated. I was remind myself that, like even these annoying moments are better than not having her around, and that helps. But yeah, I think it's about things through because when I first met my partner, I was very introverted where when I was upset, I would just want to not talk for days, like, just want to be a recluse. But then I realized that talking is so important. Um, Even when it's uncomfortable, be like, hey, I really don't like or don't appreciate you doing that. Do you think we can do it a different way instead of keeping it in? And I feel like our relationship just really got so much better once the conversation became like a daily part of life.
Of course, I think my mantra that me and my wife have is that we tell ourselves that we'll never go to sleep angry.
Mm,
We ensure that we finish all our argument, and our fight before we go to bed. And that has worked very, very well for us, even though it takes us hours to actually get through a small little argument. It may be because of like I don't know what. But another thing that I realized that my wife is a bit of a hothead, so and I have been very authentic with her in the sense that I let my emotions run wild as well. So
mm,
whatever I feel, I say with her, and that was something that I never had in the past. So it came to a point where I told her, and I learned this through Will Smith and his wife. There's this thing that they practice when I was watching the documentary is that they actually when they're angry they don't talk, so they give themselves some space to calm down, and once they're all calmed, that's when they come together and they have a chat about it. I think it's such a important thing for them to know, is that do not speak out of anger, because
mm.
half the time when you're speaking out of anger you don't mean what you say.
Yeah. Yeah, that's something I've really had to work on in my journey as well too. Because when I first met my partner, it was really like, like what you mentioned, the first person I could be so honest with and so authentic with, but to a point where when I was angry, I would let a bit too much out. So I had to backtrack and be like, okay, how can I pause?
Yeah, and it's the thing about anger and us saying things out of anger is we have to remember we can't take it back. You'll always be impacting somebody else's uh emotions, right? The words that we're actually pushing out. So Guys, if you guys have any questions for Holly about relationships, feel free to put it in the comment. Another question I would like to ask you, since you're talking about everything about relationships, we mentioned just now you mentioned a bit on polyamorous. How do you actually tackle, okay, for example, let's just take, for example, I am a monogamous person, but what if I am a polyamorous person and I feel ashamed, right, to come out as poly? What would how would you tackle that? If I was a client, how would you actually what advices would you actually give me?
Mm, yeah, so I'm same with you where I am fully monogamous, but and I didn't understand polyamory before, but I've been watching more documentaries recently, just trying to really understand. And yeah, I realized it's just, a different sort of person. They're built, created in a different way where they just have the capacity to love more people or be with more people or, have more sexual needs. I think they're all different. Um, so I think to own the fact that they were created differently and the more they tune into who they are, like the less shame actually, because let's say they're trying to be in a monogamous relationship but it's clearly not working and they're having to cheat and do all those things, it doesn't feel good to them, versus if they were like, hey, I'm just going to own who I am and live my life in the way that I feel called to. Like maybe at first it might feel shameful because it's new and people don't get it, but I'm sure after you step into it, you actually live a life that's so much more free and so much more honest.
Yes, I totally agree with you. Um, I've got one last question for you. If you guys have any questions for Holly, please feel free to just drop us a comment. So Holly, the last question was actually about self-love and compassion, but I kind of took it apart. So we spoke about self-love. Right now I want to bring the word compassion in. And let me elaborate a little bit why compassion may be, for me personally, it may be a good thing, it may be a bad thing, right? I like to believe I've got full of compassion in me. It came to a point where my past relationships, I gave up too much of compassion that I forgot myself.
Mm.
Um, and an example of that is let's say I was in a very toxic relationship. And I couldn't get out of that because a whole lot of responsibility from that particular person fell on me. So for me to get out of that means that the person may be losing a shelter over their head. They won't have money to actually eat, shelter over their head. This is where my compassion has a breaking point. I'm like, do I now choose myself, or
Mm.
do I now give in to Rachel, the compassionate person?
Mm. Yeah, I think there's a big difference between, having compassion and then self-compassion as well. Because I think self-compassion would be like, hey, but this isn't serving me, right? And like the compassion for myself is that I need to take care of myself first instead of trying to save someone when I myself am not healthy. So really being like, okay, like, yes, I feel for you, but myself comes first and I need to take care of me. And yeah, I'm like at the end of the day, I am the most important.
Definitely. Yes. So it's more about, no matter how much of compassion you have, it's about choosing yourself, because the compassion has to be driven towards yourself.
Yeah, because I found myself too in the past where I would not put myself first, and then I'd be really resentful at the other person. So in the end, like I wasn't really truly living a happy life while I was trying to juggle something that was clearly not right for me.
Understand. Do you have anything else to share with us, Holly, about something that maybe someone didn't ask the question yet about relationships or exes?
Yeah, I think to just always know that there's always something better, no matter where you're at, even if it feels like the most incredible thing, but it's not right in some way, to always know that there is something better and uh, what here. So if we're really push through that and be a little bit uncomfortable, then we get to discover something new, and it could be the very thing that is perfect for us. But yeah, it's really about taking the step that feels scary and like not knowing what's going to be out there, but just going for it sometimes.
Yes, definitely. Holly, thank you so much. And for the rest of you guys who are still on here, once Holly leaves, for y'all to just stay on for a while because I have got like a small giveaway thing going on right after Holly leaves. So Holly, thank you so much. I hope that the restrictions get lowered so that we can go out for our coffee very, very quickly. Yeah, so soon, hopefully in the next month or two. Let's just pray that that happens.
Yeah, I know. Let's go on a double date.
Yes, we should.
All right. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for being here. Thanks, Holly. Bye bye. Hello, hey friends. So that is Holly, and I actually received a parcel. All right. A parcel. I kind of know what it is. I kind of know what it is. So I'm just gonna open it up, and I'll see what's inside. I know this is for a giveaway, but let's see. I have no idea what I'm gonna do. How I'm gonna give this away. As you guys can see, I haven't actually opened it yet. Okay. So, surprise, surprise. So we have got this Iroha. If you guys can see this, right? I've got no idea what this is, but it's a Iroha Petite. It's a disposable pleasure item. So what's gonna happen is they say it's a succulent, supple sensation, if you guys can see, right? So if you guys want this, can I have you guys to take a screenshot of this, like screenshot of the live show right now, and then drop me a DM right after this. So this gives you one step closer to the giveaway. What's gonna happen the other hand, I've got two. So what's gonna happen is one of it, I'm actually gonna get one of our team to actually try it out, to do a very quick review of how this works, because Zeus wants to go out and see Zyla. So but what it says is it's a disposable pleasure item. It's a new material consisting of 98% water to provide a smooth, gliding, gentle touch to enhance your personal pleasure. I'm not sure if you guys can see that. Look. All right. So take a screenshot of this, drop me a DM right after we end this live show so that you guys can be one step closer to getting this as a free giveaway. That's it for today, guys. Thank you so much for joining us. If you guys have any questions, follow Holly. Follow Holly on her IG page. Reach out to her. I'm sure she'll be more than happy to guide you guys or answer your queries as well. Just to let you know, we are back. LesTalk is back with more guests coming up. I'm just gonna distract Zeus with some cheese treats so that he doesn't scratch my door. But we have got very, very good guests coming up. So thank you all very much, and I'll see you guys in 2 weeks. Bye bye.